We're covering the building, as you mentioned before, the building blocks of nutrients. We will talk about protein, fat, moisture, and also fibers and groups of food. We try to keep it as light, as simple as possible. And it's so important. I'm so excited, especially when it comes to protein and fat.
Yeah.
People are so worried about fat, but it is a crucial part of our diet, fat.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about that too.
And the misunderstandings, especially, right? How do you handle and adjust the diets?
I would just need to, basically,
or maybe start with what's important with every single building block first. Is that a good way to start?
Yes. So if we look at our body and if we look at all the animals on Earth, we basically combined with water, protein, fibers, and fat. So we all, some people demonize fat, but we all heard about paleo diet. So we eat the original form of food, and every single bite is always fat, protein, water, fibers. So they work together as a perfect team. Just like if you look at the studio or MTR, it's not just the train driver. We have the ticket, people in the ticketing office and all that. So we work together. But the thing is, when people try to single out, when they think, they heard about the term amino acid, and they feed the animal just meat, lean meat, there will be a lot of problem. We put it in a simple term called blockage. What means blockage is you have a lot of amino acid, but you don't have the keys to break them down. So that will cause a lot of digestion problem. So when the animal has a certain digestion issues, and then the misconception is you feed them fibers, probiotic, and a lot of water, but what exactly they're missing is the natural fats that come with the meat. The perfect partner of the piece of meat they eat. And not to mention we have pork, chicken. When we call fat, I don't mean can we just drink coconut oil? Coconut oil is perfect, it's fantastic, but compared to having a whole grass fat or a whole free range organic chicken leg, much better than having chicken breast with coconut oil. But that's better than having just chicken breast.
I just realized that I didn't give you a proper introduction because I was just continuing this interview on the premise of, because we have done one interview 2 months ago or something like that. And that was more of an introduction to giving pets fresh food. And you also told us the story of how you 20 years ago. You picked up this 14 years ago you picked up this really sorry
No, that's fine.
I made you sound older than you really are. but anyway, so you healed your whole family together, healed this really sick dog. And how with fresh food, right?
And before that, I was a nutrition therapist. Nutrition therapist is a little bit different than nutritionist, but we focus on healing instead of just putting together a meal plan for healthy people. We usually focus on people on medication, on certain type of fit therapies, for example, chemotherapy, or they need to lose weight in a very short amount of time before surgery. But then, what happened with the encounter in me and my family dog before, so I changed my direction, because there's only a certain amount of surgeries could help when it comes to health, but nutrition, it's something that's every day, the optimal, the ultimate card, I would say. The gold card to all.
So the conversation that we're having right now is based on just giving pets fresh food. So don't be alarmed when you hear us talk about coconut oil or anything like that.
when we get to know more about what the most frequent question I ask, so what's wrong with the kibo? There's nothing wrong with kibo. I just quickly want to bring that up. Is it's convenience, it's good, but it has its limits. And now when we want for our families, always the best. And also apart from our day-to-day nutrition, we also will care about the wellness of the animal, how they feel, the exercise, entertainment. We want to give them the best life. So this is what I'm talking about here, especially a lot of people now.
And hopefully extend their lifespan.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And the quality is the most important thing. What's the meaning of having a 20 years old, 30 years old life, having the same dry feed every day? Like you want it for yourself. You don't want to have for your children.
And having a surgery every year.
Yes, and eating together with the family, including your animals, is one of the best things on earth.
And they're getting your droppings from the floor.
They enjoy it, I heard.
Yeah, they enjoy it.
And Christmas is coming. So, yes. So I would say, well, what the animals don't really need is usually parents come to me when only when things happen that they come to me. And that's not the worst. The worst is they try several things before they come to me, and that usually run to rather wrong directions. Let's say they would give the animals the fibers when they have a problem digesting food, and they become gassy, the fibers. But when you ask 10 parents, they're feeding lean meat, lean chicken, or just fish, and that's their diet. So the animal usually looks very tired because they have all this abundance, but they don't have the key.
So they cannot digest it. They can't even digest the proteins.
All of them. Well, they can digest protein, but not in that amount. And the misconception also says, according to a lot of textbooks, it says 0.8 ounce of meat per pound. That is correct. Like 60 years, 50 years ago, when you're having dogs and cats in the farm. But now in Hong Kong, you know how luxurious our apartments, our tiny little apartment are, and they just have lack of exercise.
Also, pets go around in strollers.
I know.
Like, no judgment.
I know.
But
yes, some of them, like, in order not to ruin the toenails. And
oh my God.
That's cute, but in the long run, they are animals. Like we need to exercise. We need a little bit of sunlight. And so without all these conditions, you have receiving abundance, 3 meals per day. That's not exactly a good thing. They just have all the excess resources that they don't need. They don't need to hunt. They don't have enough exercise.
They don't need to do anything. They have a better life than I do.
Well,
I always look at my dog and tell her that, and then she just looks at me and then yawns, and then goes back to sleep.
But that's a really good attitude, though.
Yeah.
Like, that makes you a really good pet owner. Like, you always want to give the best, better than my own life. That would be the best. Yeah. So and sometimes the animal just refuse to eat, and this is what worries the owner the most. So what I want to cover here is, Christmas is coming. I know a lot of pet owners will be rewarding the children, the furry children, a lot of meat again. So I just want to make it quick. Include 2 things in the diet, and I'm going to explain to you why. I want you to include, when you feed animal meat, I want you to include the skin. If it's not possible, include a little bit of fat, like comes with that piece of meat.
But is it good that we can, if we can find no hormones added meat?
Yes, absolutely. Like I wouldn't even not suggest that to human. I mean, it's almost the only options. But a lot of people think this is impossible, but to me, I think it's impossible to have cigarette, alcohol, Coca-Cola, or Coke. So you can. I mean, there's a balance that you have to adjust the spending and budget and stuff, but it's always possible. And especially your children and yourself don't actually need that much.
I didn't actually start looking for organic and no hormones added meat until you told me to. Yeah, because I don't look after myself.
My gosh, we have a lot to talk about.
But then once I started looking, I was like, oh, Yeah, it's like more expensive than obviously regular
yes,
meat.
For reasons.
But yeah.
Yeah, but for reasons. And also, if you look at the food price in the last 20 years, a lot cheaper than before because we're having a lot of lower quality meat. So if you just stick with, the inflammation and stuff, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, that makes sense. And also one of the, what is to talk about the meat and the fat, and also want to include apple cider vinegar too. And
what's so good about apple cider vinegar?
Apple cider vinegar. I would briefly talk about it now, and also have another video in Cantonese. But everything I talked about today, I would make a translation in Cantonese later and post it on the work channel, YouTube channel. But apple cider vinegar has all the enzymes that we need to break down. So as I mentioned, we have all the abundance in our body, in our children's body. We just don't have the keys to break it down. Imagine you receive all the Christmas present and you cannot open it, right? Yeah. So what apple cider vinegars do, they act as a key to help you unwrap all the abundance, including the ones that you just received, and also the presents that you have received before. You just unwrapped it, so you will feel a lot more energized, and you will observe, you will see that your children having better digestion, less gassy, and they poop regularly, nicely, and this is proven. Apple cider vinegar is such an underrated product that nobody talked about because probably
I did not know that.
It's not expensive and maybe it doesn't worth a lot to talk about.
So it has all the enzymes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And of course, the enzymes in apple cider vinegar, it's a lot more complex than the rice vinegar. So that's why when I suggest it, I always suggest apple cider vinegar. So, okay, what has been done, we cannot undo it. But moving forward, always include fat and maybe, my perfect ratio that the children don't reject, the solutions that children don't reject usually is 250 ml of water with 3 drops of apple cider vinegar. Yeah, and you will see the difference. It makes such a huge difference when it comes to the level of awareness and the digestion too.
As in with the water and the meat and
vinegar.
The whole meal all together.
Yes. You can always keep apple cider vinegar's water in the fountain, in the water fountain. You don't need to take it away.
That's the problem I'm having with my dog because she's not drinking water.
Oh, she's on kibbles sometimes?
No, not at all. She just doesn't like water. She doesn't want to drink.
Okay, it's natural though.
Yeah.
In the real life, animals don't have access to water all day long, so it's natural for them to have a gulp of water and just stop for the whole day until the next day. But if they are on, so drinking water regularly is not a natural habit. But if the modern society give them kibbles and canned food, so we need to reinforce this. Now, I'm saying that, parents out there, if you are feeding your children canned food or kibbles, that's fine too, but consider that trying to train your animals into drinking a lot more water and add a few drops of apple cider vinegar in it. So one step in a day, start with this, and it will help to break down all the storage. When we say storage is, if we're feeding our animals only fresh food, of course all the storage will be pure present, the abundance. But we all have dark history. If you're feeding them kibbles or canned food, that's fine too, or colorful snacks.
Yeah.
Then you can help them to unlock the bad storage and multiply them into the system and flush it out. And apple cider vinegar works miraculously. Yeah. Okay.
So as a takeaway message for today's episode is to include everything. Don't just feed your animals lean meat or just fiber.
Yes.
You need carbohydrates, you need fat, you need protein, you definitely need water.
Yes.
And as a tip, you add apple cider vinegar.
Yes. And also have to, sometimes lean meat has an important role in certain pre-surgery procedures. So when we fast our animals for certain type of treatments, lean meat is good. Don't try to demonize any food. We need to eat it as a whole. Paleo diet is a good start. And that's that.
Yeah, but just to give as a last thing, just to give people sort of an idea of what the coming episodes are.
Yes.
What are we going to cover after this introductory episode on nutrition?
Next, well, by the most popular request is skin, hair, and bone, nails. So let's talk about that. And it is related to animal fat.
Yeah.
So as simple as that. We don't need to spend any, on any expensive fancy products, but just a small change of eating habit on consuming a reasonable amount of animal fat. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome
today,
anytime.
Annabelle. So I'll see you again next week.
My pleasure. Yes.
Yes.
Please.
And if anybody has any questions, you can send it to either RTHK.
Yes.
Or you can even message Annabelle on Furry Kitchen.
Yes. And just to warn you, I wouldn't stop talking, so you have to beware of your request.